Welcome to the Executive Corner, Expert Talks by Kalkine TV. I'm Sage, and today's guest is Mr Jake Nicholson, Managing Director at SME Ventures. And have you heard of a search fund? If not, you're not alone. Making its first appearance in the USA during the 1980s, it's a niche asset class that if more people knew about, they might prosper from. Also known as entrepreneurship through acquisition or ETA. And today's guest will share insights into this type of private equity vehicle, which involves searching for, buying and operating existing businesses instead of starting one from scratch. You might have heard of flipping property. Well, this is similar. Simply put, flipping businesses. And we bring you the industry leaders, successful business owners, all under the one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock markets. And bringing you live today, we have Mr Jake Nicholson, Managing Director of SME Ventures. Welcome to the show, Jake.
Thanks, Sage. Great to be here.
Well, Jake, with your experience working for Search Fund Accelerator in the US, the world's first accelerator fund, and now as a Managing Director at SME Ventures in Australia, we're keen to share your insights. So I just mentioned flipping businesses there. I've probably got it all wrong, so we're keen to have your insights to set it straight for our viewers. Sounds like there's two sides to the coin here. Business owners who want to sell and the searchers who are looking to acquire the established businesses. How does your innovative company offer services to both, please?
That's absolutely right, Sage. So you have this whole generation of baby boomer business owners, and 85% of them in Australia are lacking a succession plan. And that's one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, you have a pool of very talented mid-career entrepreneurs who would love to step into that CEO seat of a small business and create a lot of value in that business. So what we do at SME Ventures is we partner with that aspiring CEO throughout the process of initially raising a bit of seed capital to fund the process of looking for a business to buy, to actually sourcing that acquisition opportunity, to completing the acquisition, and then to operate our business. And in doing that, we follow a model called a search fund that, as you mentioned, was developed at Stanford and Harvard back in the 80s and has since created over $8 billion of shareholder value. And that model is just now landing in Australia. We just completed Australia's very first acquisition via a search fund with our entrepreneur, Rob Gaunt, who acquired ACE Training a couple months ago.
Wow, that sounds very exciting and so great to be connecting with your company at this time as well. You've just completed a recent acquisition of ACE Training. Is that correct? Do you have insights to share on the process so far?
Yeah, Sage, I think the biggest insight from that experience is that the opportunity is very clear now in Australia. We came to the market with a hypothesis, but that hypothesis had a few big question marks attached to it. And as we learn more, those question marks are getting smaller and smaller, and the thesis is clearly playing out. The market has many businesses in the size range, in like the $5 to $50 million turnover range that have been around for 15, 20 years and are being run by retirement age founder owners who, again, don't have a succession plan. And most of them many of them would be interested in a hungry younger entrepreneur coming in, filling their shoes, and carrying on the legacy of that business. When we came into the market, we had some questions around sources of capital, availability of debt financing, ability to source these opportunities, and the willingness of these business owners to actually sell to the next generation. But as this recent acquisition shows, and as our process of sourcing opportunities has shown, those are much smaller question marks, and we are able to find the appropriate sources of capital and the deal flow. And those two parts of the equation are getting answered pretty quickly for the short term.
Great, thank you for the clarity there, because I have noticed that mergers and acquisitions are quite common, especially in the tech world, and with many startups being usurped by tech giants on a regular basis. The search fund community is undoubtedly growing, and a couple of questions for you. Do you think that the COVID-19 downturn has impacted that growth? And just for further clarity, how is SME Ventures different to a digital aggregator or a tech unicorn, so to speak?
Sure. So yes, the COVID situation has created many distressed businesses, and so you might think that those distressed businesses would feed into the search fund model. People who want to buy these businesses. In fact, search fund entrepreneurs are usually looking for are not prioritizing distressed opportunities. They're looking more for stable, resilient companies. But perhaps COVID has affected valuations a bit, and that's made the prospect a bit more attractive to aspiring acquirers and CEOs. But I think what's driving growth of search funds more than anything is really just awareness. For a long time, the idea of a search fund, the idea of entrepreneurship through acquisition as a legitimate path for the aspiring entrepreneur has sat within a fairly small community of people in the know in the United States. But especially over the past 5 to 10 years, that awareness has really grown exponentially, especially in Canada, Western Europe, Latin America, and now it's starting to land in Australia and Asia Pacific. The businesses we buy are the big difference between entrepreneurship acquisition and search funds on one hand and the startup world on the other is that the entrepreneur is not starting from scratch in a search fund. They are buying an established business with proven product market fit, with cash flow, with a management team in place and willing to stay, middle management team typically, and stable systems, and then they're taking that and creating value from there. Often there's a lot of low-hanging fruit and opportunity for professionalization and value creation in these businesses. So for the entrepreneur who doesn't want to start from scratch, this can be a very good solution.
Yes, it definitely sounds like it. So SME Ventures chooses to focus on acquiring and operating single, small to medium enterprise, and you mentioned earlier with the revenues of between 5 to 50 million. Could you share with us why you've selected this target group in particular?
Yeah, Sage, this is where we see a ton of opportunity in Australia. Other institutional buyers aren't typically interested in businesses of this size. They want to see more 5 million EBITDA plus, or at least 40 to 50 million in turnover. But for our model, this size range is perfect. It's a great size for a mid-career operator who's typically a first-time CEO. It's a steady business that we can buy well. And there's a ton of opportunity for value creation with some fairly basic ingredients, like professionalization of systems, and that often includes some tech enablement, which these mid-career people are often fairly well equipped to execute on, and then some sophisticated elbow grease applied to top line growth. And often these businesses have served as really great lifestyle businesses for the outgoing business owner, the seller, generating a few million of cash flow for that owner on an annual basis. And so they're steady and reliable and predictable. But they're often underperforming relative to their potential. So when you replace that outgoing owner with a hungry entrepreneur who is excited to and incentivized to create value, not just reliable cash, then you can do some really interesting things.
Well, it sounds like this is a fantastic mission because you're probably helping out a lot of those near retirement phase business founder owners who might be stuck with who they're going to, who their success is going to be, and perhaps their own children aren't as inclined that way or have the business acumen. So, yeah, sounds like a brilliant exercise there. So we're finishing up our discussion now.
Yeah.
What are your near-term goals for SME Ventures, and how can searchers get involved with the rollout of this concept in Australia?
Yeah, so Sage, we've without being presumptuous, we've sort of figured out the capital side of things and the deal flow side of things. What we're looking for now is the next generation of high-performing CEOs to partner with us on an exciting project like this. People who would do an amazing job running a small business and delivering value, who are gritty and smart and humble and excellent leaders who should be running a business today, but don't have a business to run. And if your viewers are interested in learning more, they can get in touch with us at hello@smeventures.com. Or visit our website. There's a whole bunch of free resources for people who want to learn about this space, including a reading list that will point them to other blogs and books and podcasts. And I'm happy to be a resource for anyone researching this career path, which can be very exciting, but does carry some risk and should elicit a lot of questions from that entrepreneur. And my team and I are happy to answer those questions and hopefully find our future partner CEOs.
That sounds fantastic. So just before you go, does SME Ventures act as a mediator in the process, or does the search become an employee of SME Ventures to then take on the CEO role in the new company?
Yeah. So we're functionally and structurally a partner to that entrepreneur. From the beginning of the process through to the end, we create an entity with that entrepreneur. We raise capital together into that entity. We execute the search for an acquisition opportunity together using our team of analysts and our tech stack. And then we execute the acquisition together. And then post-acquisition, that entrepreneur will step in as the CEO of the acquired company. And we sit on the board, and we're along with a couple of the other investors, and we're very actively engaged in the ongoing operations of that company post-acquisition.
Sounds like a great service and very unique, a very exciting time to connect with you. And thank you for bringing this opportunity to our shores. Jake, was there any final thoughts you'd like to share with the viewers before we wind up today's discussion?
Sure. It's just that startups are not the only way to pursue entrepreneurship. You don't have to survive in your garage on instant noodles without a salary for years. You can actually for an opportunity that you have a 90% chance of failure, and you can actually mitigate a lot of your risks, take a salary from the beginning, and start with something that already has a product market fit, and then make that yours, and mold that into your vision, into your company, and execute the value creation strategy from there. And for some people, that can be a much more attractive version of entrepreneurship than starting a high-risk tech company from scratch.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much, Jake. It's a very inspiring opportunity, and best of luck with your rollout here in Australia.
Thank you, Sage.
And thank you for joining us today, viewers. We just had a very informative discussion with Mr. Jake Nicholson, Managing Director at SME Ventures, and the full recorded interview is available from YouTube at Kalkine Media. Until the next time, keep watching Kalkine TV for more of the expert talks and live market updates. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.